Business is brought to you by Audible.com.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of Married with a Business. I'm Craig.
And I'm Allison.
And we're Married with a Business. My voice was really high there at the beginning.
You came in
I came in very
like
high.
a wrecking ball.
That's okay. That's all right. How you doing, Allison?
Good. I'm good. How are you?
I'm all right. What's going on with you this week?
So we are getting ready to go for a long weekend with two other families that we've never traveled with before. And it is like you need a strategic plan, or I need a strategic plan. There's a lot of, I don't know. And I'm like, whoa, we need a plan.
I'm trying emotionally. So usually I'm the one that's like, hey, what's everybody want to do? And everybody's like, I don't know. What do you want to do? And I'm like, I don't know. What do you want to do? What's everybody? And then we all, you get into that, circle of everybody just saying, I don't care.
And then I get pissy.
So I think what I'm going to say this weekend is I'm going to be like, well, this is what we're doing.
Planned spontaneity. We have a general idea. I have laid out some meal plans. Our family has taken a different meal a day. And I said, this is what we're doing. Fill in the Google Doc. I'm high C in every aspect of my life. I want to hang out and relax, and I don't want to have to spend 3 hours talking about what we're doing for dinner.
But we have said that part of this going away is we don't need to plan every minute. We need to hang out on the porch and as friends and let the kids play out, because the place we rented a lot of yard, a lot of places for the kids to play.
Correct. I just want a strategic outline so that we don't spend all day sitting around going, we should do this, or we should do that, and then driving around town doing nothing.
Right. There's not really much of a town in the middle of nowhere, Vermont/New York that we're staying, but.
So it's going to be exciting. It's going to be fun. It's like a 25-acre property. I'm bringing some tents, and we're throwing the kids outside.
Yeah. So, we'll see what happens. I'm sure there'll be stories in future episodes. So, make sure you stay tuned.
Probably.
I know that some of the people that are going on this trip, I think, do listen occasionally to the episodes. So that makes me a little nervous.
It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. Allison, this week,
we're going to talk about self-talk. We're getting into the fall. We're kind of doing some reset. For us personally this summer, we kind of had to do some reset, some rethinking about our goals and our priorities and our vision and how we are talking to ourselves and taking care of ourselves.
So I've often wanted to ask, and if you're a listener and you want to chime in on social media, that'd be great because it'd make me feel good. I've often wanted to ask, I have a constant, nonstop inner monologue in my head. It's pretty much there's not in Craig's head, there's not a lot of dead space. It's when there's no noise and nobody's talking to me, I'm thinking about a lot of things, and sometimes it's things that are nothing, but it's nonstop noise in my head. I don't ever, and so I have this inner monologue that's always Craig, you got to do this, or you're being lazy. You should have gone and done this. You should have gone and done that.
But that's why those are learned behaviors too.
Right.
Everybody has an inner monologue, and that's why people meditate to quiet those voices and find some peace and calm. But what you do is you just listen to music and podcasts and TV, even all night in bed.
I fill the void with noise.
I literally the other night rolled over and said, oh my God, I can hear the chirping from your headphones in bed.
Because I've
and it got me all agitated.
Sports radio on in bed.
So Craig, let's talk about that, because what you say to yourself is important, and it affects how you heal, how you act, how tired you are, how healthy you are, how fat you are, or all of those things.
Yeah, and I think that I'm sure. You hear all of these things about it. You need to have positive self-talk. You got to look at yourself in the mirror and say, it's, you remember the Saturday Night Live skit from the 80s, where it's you look in the mirror and you say, you're good enough, you're smart enough, and gosh darn it, people like you. You have to actually do, as funny as that was, there's
true.
some validity to that.
It's absolutely true. I've said this before. On my bureau, I have a card that's one of those quotable cards, and it says, be the person who you are, not the person people expect you to be. And there have been times when every morning I've had to get up and read that.
And I even today, I start to have you start to have these like negative like thoughts creep into your head. I get to these points with our business and with work. It's like, oh, what if I never sell another contract ever again? Like ever. Like that's where my head goes sometimes. And it's just like, what happens if somebody never wants to hire us again?
Right. Well, maybe that's a whole different show, and maybe that's somebody we need to bring in to talk to you
have
with.
a professional come in and talk to you.
That might not be a bad idea, but the good thing is we're built to change, and if in recognizing that you think that those are some challenging points for you is a good thing. Our brain has neuroplasticity, and what that means is we have the ability to reorganize and adapt and form new neutral connections throughout life, and in the responses to our different experiences, right? We change who we are based on what we've been through and what we've learned and the habits that we create.
I'm listening to Dr. Shad Helmstedter's book, What to Say When You Talk to Yourself. And he talks a lot about like how the brain is like this amazing computer that is even better than a computer because it has the ability to adapt and change and fix itself. And they talk about it. They talk
not necessarily fix itself, though, is it?
It's like, you fixing it,
right.
But isn't that itself?
It's dynamic. It's constantly changing.
But like it's the whole idea of like people talk about it's so hard to exercise. I don't like to get up and exercise. But once you get up and you do it, and you are you start that habit, you build that habit. Your brain just goes, oh well, this is what we do now.
Well, we've been doing that this summer, right? We haven't had to worry about carpool. And I'm always like, well, I can't get up any earlier than I do because I get up at 5:45 and get the kids ready and out the door, and then I don't have time to walk. But this summer, I've said, well, that's just excuses, and we've gotten up almost every day this summer and walked.
Yeah.
Now that being said, I'm getting up and walking after I have to for school, so we'll see how it goes when school starts.
Well, yeah, we'll see how it goes. But it's interesting how like your the neuroplasticity in your brain, the ability for it to change, can help you build those habits. You build they talk about people who are smokers, and the act of smoking it's a mental thing, right? It's not a physical thing. Your body doesn't need to smoke a cigarette, so it's a mental thing. It's the comfort of it. So being able to break that habit is part of your brain being able to change and adapt.
Well, it's about skill development and the repetition and practice. What do we call it? Muscle memory for when you take reps in baseball or you play the guitar. It's, you're creating new neural pathways that make things more automatic for yourself.
And that being said, they talk a lot about how it's way easier when you're young, when you're a kid, when you're a 12-year-old learning how to swing a baseball bat or play guitar. It's much easier to learn it then than for your brain to change when it's 45 years old.
Right, and that's why our kids think we're crazy because it's just so easy, Mom.
Right.
Like, I still don't understand what you just did.
But yeah, like the idea of you being able to like force and change those habits is so interesting. Like the brain is just so interesting.
So does that mean even though we're older, we can't change our brains, or is it just takes more repetition to change our?
It takes more repetition. And then you can't. It's and you and I were just talking about it over dinner a few minutes ago. It's like just do it. Like sometimes you just have to have the push to do it. You have to, not be complacent about it. Not say, hey, you know what? The alarm went off. I'm just going to hit snooze and not go get on the bike this morning.
Yeah, it's easier. It's easier to just lay here.
Right. And I struggle with that. Everybody struggles with that. But, that building those like neural pathways in your brain to get to the point where you're able to do those things and they become habit. And you just, you can't, and then it gets, you sometimes go to the other end and you can't do without it, but still like, as long as it's healthy things.
Yeah. And it's amazing of how, you think about the average person and we talk about how hard it is, but think about how amazing your brain is if you've had like a stroke or a brain injury, the ability to heal itself and reteach you how to walk or move your arms or legs. So it kind of we kind of have to just think about that when we think, oh, I can't do it, it's too hard. Well, that's just you saying the wrong things to yourself and you creating the wrong pathways.
So part of, I'm trying, and I think everybody, I would imagine everybody, maybe there are probably people who don't think this way, but I do. Like part of it is, first recognizing those negative self-talk things, right? It's like first understanding and hearing yourself when you say it. So, when you have like negative acceptance and you're like saying, I can't do it. There's no way. Or when you're talking about, like things like I should have gone and done this. The hindsight is, 2020, or I never, like recognizing that you're saying those things to yourself is sort of like that first step in changing the level of your level of self-talk.
All right, so some things that you should pay attention to when you're hearing it in your own head is I can't.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard. I never.
Yeah, I should.
So we've talked about shoulding on yourself.
Yep.
I always. What are other things that you experience? Should is my problem.
Yeah, I feel
should be doing.
Should is my problem. I should have done this. I don't really have a lot of I can'ts, but I do have a lot of I shoulds.
Side note, listeners, he's good at everything.
I'm not good at everything. That's far from the truth. But I'm confident in new things. But I have a lot of times I have that, like, I look back and I go, oh, I should have done this, or I could have gotten this sale if I had.
Is that negative self-talk, or is that just reflection?
I think it's a little bit of both, but I think that what happens is that I'll give you an example today. Like today, I don't know why, I just have this like issue today where I was like, oh man, I'm never going to close. I'm never going to close another job. It's like, I have these moments where I'm like, why, if I've gone a couple of weeks of struggle, why is it hard for me to, get out of that funk?
So what do you do? How are you combating that?
Well, I mean,
are you changing that self-talk when you hear it?
Yeah. First is recognizing it, right? So
yeah.
first is like today, I really spent, and because I'm in the middle of listening to this book by Dr. Shad Helmstetter, but today I spent a lot of times just recognizing it, realizing that I was doing it, and being like, okay, like you've got to stop thinking that way. And then the second part of that is that I start to try to change the narrative of it, right? I try to make it more present tense. I try to make it more positive. I try to make it more, I am going to XYZ. I will do this to make this happen. So it's, and that's part of like stopping yourself from going to the negative and working your way back to the positive, or at least correcting to give yourself, or to give me, like, sort of, hey, here's the direction I need to here's the direction I need to go.
So you need once you recognize you're doing it, you need to stop yourself and take time to flip the narrative.
Yeah. I like in the book, he talks about how, like, again, there's all these references about how your brain is like a computer, and how, like, when the software is getting old or something's not working, you got to install new software. So I think of it that way. Like I've got to install, like I've got to take a break, and I'll find myself in my office. I'll just close my door. I'll not look at my computer screen. Maybe I'll put some music on, and I'll just take a minute and be like, this, you've gotten here, you've done this, you have the ability, it's that it's a motivational thing. You're like, it's going back to that, Saturday Night Live skit, you're good enough, you're smart enough, and gosh darn it, people like you. Like, it's going back to like stopping your brain from going to the negative and changing your mindset to go to the positive. So if it's repetitive affirmations, if it's a visual, if it's like some sort of reinforcement, like I sometimes like to look at pictures of the beach or pictures of the ocean or whatever it might be for you that kind of lowers your blood pressure, calms you down. You hear a lot of people that talk about writing out, your like journaling and writing out your feelings, and sometimes that gets them out, and so any of those kind of things is what you can do.
Well, and we were watching Hard Knocks last night, and that's what professional sports athletes do. They going into practice in the workout room, when they're having a quiet moment getting ready for a game, they they do the positive self-talk.
Well, and it's funny because like Sean McDermott was talking about, the coach for the Buffalo Bills. If you're not watching Hard Knocks on HBO, they're doing the Buffalo Bills this year, and he does talk about like, resetting an energy, like having energy, being, because when you go to the negative, you lose that energy, right? Like nobody's that energized to be negative, so you lose that energy. So you've got to be positive. You've got to be energetic. You've got to keep yourself motivated and keep yourself up. And so it's extremely hard to do. Like,
well, and it's infectious. Bad energy is palpable and positive energy is transferable.
And I think it's something that you and I have always talked about with the both of us. Like we've always had this conversation as a married couple that work together every day, that own this business, that raise a family, have a house, all these things. Like we have to be each other's yin and yang, right? We have to balance each other's out. And it's hard sometimes because we have to read each other. Mm-hmm. And I have to say, okay, Allison is really down this week. So I have to not allow myself to be negative. I have to try to stay positive. And I'm sure you do the same for me.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Like I lose a contract or I lose a job and you're like, oh, I've got to be there for Craig. I can't be mad and be down. I've got to be the positive one.
And I try very hard to be that.
No, I mean, like, I think we're both aware of it. And I think that's, when you're working together and you're a couple in a business together, that's one of those things that you have to like help each other with. And I think that's an advantage for us.
Right. But you can't rely on other people. Like we're responsible for our own mental programming.
Yeah, but I also
sometimes I want to fix you, but
yeah, but I agree. But I also think that you have to be you have to work on your relationship and have your relationship in a place where that, like, you're my go-to person, right? Like, if I'm down, like today, I was down. I told you I was down. We talked about, like, you have.
Oh, no. I think that's different. Like, yeah, you definitely need a person to go and help you. But, like, I feel like that long-term thing, like, your partner, your significant other, isn't creating those inputs for you.
Well, and we've talked about this with other people. Like, it's hard if you're negative all the time. If you're a negative Debbie Downer, everybody's out to get you, the world's always coming to an end. If you're that person all the time, nobody's going to want to work. So not only are you going to like hurt yourself and hurt your business, but you're going to hurt your relationship as well.
Yeah, nobody wants to be around you. You get to the point where no one wants to deal with you. And those are the people who in your organizations you determine are cancers. You don't want to be the cancer. You're the person who owns the business, or you're the person in your relationship.
Well, and they talk about in the book, like, again, the brain is so interesting. And if you're a negative person all the time and everything's always bad and you're always like, somebody's trying to get into my pocket and somebody's trying to steal this from me, and if you're your negative side of your brain, like that will become the strong part of your brain. And if you're a positive person and you're positive all the time, that's part of your brain is going to become the strong part and you're going to be positive, And so trying to recognize that and change the narrative in your head is the best way to combat all of that negativity.
And there's a difference between positive and Pollyanna, right? Like people sometimes say, "Oh, she's so sticky sweet. She's too positive. There's never anything wrong." And I think that's different. I think being positive is different than being Pollyanna-esque. Positive people think in the present. I have, instead of what was happening in the past. They make, we make things, I sound like I'm a positive person, personal and specific. I'm always trying to like look at, okay, even if there is a bad situation, is there something good that can come out of it? What could we learn? What could we do different next time?
Well, and I think that if you at least recognize that you're starting to be negative, that you're starting to have, not great self-talk, and you're having that inner monologue that is negative all the time, as long as you recognize it and you're trying to change it, you're in the right direction.
Right. Instead of saying things like, I wish I was more confident, say things like, I am confident.
Right.
And you will start to become more confident. Because even when I'm just saying this to you, the examples I'm giving, when I said, I wish I was more confident, my shoulders slumped. And then when I said, I am confident, I inherently just stood up straighter.
Well, and this is another podcast for another day, but you talk about, like, people don't realize, but all of that self-talk, all of that feeling that you have inside is shown on the exterior. So when you're on a sales call with somebody, when you're in a room networking with 50 people, like, if you are a negative, down person, you're right, you're gonna slump, your voice is gonna change, it's gonna not be as fun. Where on the other hand, if you're positive and confident, you're gonna own and have the room and be in control, and all of those things that will help improve your social life, your personal life, your business.
And it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Right.
I always tell people when we're onboarding them at our remodeling company, people can hear your smile through the phone. So even if you don't feel happy, if you smile while you're talking to them, they can actually feel that. The way your voice is different than when you're not smiling.
Right. And so I think it's and I do it from at the beginning of this show every day every time we record this, and you always make fun of me, but like before I start talking to do the introduction, I smile.
And you sit up straight.
And so I just think being able to notice those things is a part. So some actions.
Yeah, I was going to say, what are you doing? What are your action items that you're doing to try and reprogram yourself to be more positive?
Yeah, like I said multiple times, like I think first recognizing the negative, like when the negative starts to come in, recognizing and saying to yourself, like, why am I saying this to myself? Why am I being negative? Why am I saying I should or I can't or I never? Like, so first of all, asking yourself that question when you feel yourself starting to talk. Listen, this is one of those episodes where I'm going to tell you, like, everybody talks to themselves. It's okay to talk to yourself. I mean, you don't have to do it out loud. If you want to do it out loud, that's cool. Like, you can be that person. But, like, you got to talk to yourself, right? That's the only way. It's healthy. It's okay. But you got to ask yourself, like, why am I saying this to myself? Like, why am I being so negative? And I think you got to pay attention to sort of like the emotional cues that go along with that. Am I stressed? Is there a lot going on? Like, and am I making the stress worse by being negative about it? Am I anxious? Well, what's the situation going on around you that's causing you to sort of feel this way? So you got to think about the language that you're saying, think about the situation you're in. And then I think you need to improve it. You need to start saying the opposite of the negative, right? So if you're like, I'm terrible at XYZ, you should say to yourself, I'm trying to get better at, or I'm learning to do XYZ better.
I think it's important to write it down. Sometimes what I do is I put it on a note card and I leave it in my planner that gets changed every day. So when I turn the page, I have to move the card and I have to reread it to myself.
Well, and I will say, and I know that we're a broken record. I think every other episode we talk about Michael Hyatt's Full Focus Planner. But I will say, in Michael Hyatt's Full Focus Planner, every week, you have a page that you fill out your after action report. Like, did you get your top 3 done from last week? But it also has other things in there that are sort of affirmation building things that are like, what are things that you could improve on this week?
My positive thing should be filling those pages out better.
I agree. I also like, and I don't think this was in the original Full Focus planners, but it's been in the newer ones that we've gotten in the last year or so. I don't do it every day, but I try to do as many days as possible. I don't even know if you've realized this. At the bottom of every day, it's like, write down one good thing today. What's it say? Oh, hold on.
I don't know.
Let me look it up. I got
There is a quote on every day.
No, every day there's a quote, but at the bottom of each day, there's a thing that says daily win. And you're supposed to write down like your daily win for that day. It wasn't in the originals. It's definitely in the newer versions.
I look at this every day. I don't think I've noticed that.
Yeah, it's great. So Michael Hyatt's Full Focus Planner, and if you go back, Allison, to like the week view in there are like questions that help you like write down those things. Like, what could you improve on? What went well, what didn't go well. But yeah, writing down is definitely helpful, I think, for you to be able to get it out of the emotional part of your body.
Maybe for my ideal week for the fall, actually doing my
Filling
full weekly review should be on my list.
So other things I do to help kind of improve, is writing my, like you said, write down some statements, but like doing some like check-ins, with myself. Like if I'm taking a break, like say, hey, how do I feel? Like, am I doing okay? Do I need to be, or like, is everything going okay? Like maybe it's a morning, like wake up positivity check-in, that you talk about people who have the Post-it notes on the mirror in the bathroom, all of those kind of things to help you, you're good enough today, those kind of things. So like a visual reinforcement of some sort. I think, this was one I liked as well. The best friend test. Have you ever done this one?
No.
I think we do this one together sometimes.
Do we?
But if you wouldn't say it to your best friend, don't say it to yourself.
Oh, yeah, we definitely talk about that.
So
I say a lot of things to my best friend, so.
Am I your best friend?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, good. So I like that one. Like, if you wouldn't say it to your best friend, don't say it to yourself. Like, so those are some, and then obviously it's just consistency, right? It's not and this is where I think I fail the most, is I go through these ebbs and flows of like, I'm really really energized. I'm positive. We're going to do it. We're going to, the sky's the limit. And then I'll do that for 3 or 4 weeks and then I'll be negative. And so I think consistency is probably the hardest part of the whole thing.
Well, the more you rehearse the self-talk, the faster it takes over, replaces the bad habits.
Yeah. So I will say, like, all of this came from you've listened to it. I've listened to it twice now. What to Say When You Talk to Yourself. That's by Dr. Shed Helmstetter, and he is sort of like the guru, the first person that really sort of ever did studies and really focused on like self-talk and how it affects you physically, mentally. So definitely check that book out, What to Say When You Talk to Yourself. There's a new edition out. And I will tell you, you can get it on audible.com. And the Audible version is actually really interesting because they read the book and then there's like little snippets where they kind of interview the Dr. Helmstetter about each section and ask him questions. And so it's really good. And you can get a free 30 days of Audible on us if you go to audibletrial.com/bizmarried. That's audibletrial.com/bizmarried. You get a free 30 days of Audible. You can listen to that book. You can listen to any other book. It doesn't have to be a work-related book. It could be a fiction book. It could be something fun, Allison.
Yeah, the boys and I listened to The Tales of Huckleberry Finn to and from school last year.
So there you go. And that's all on audible.com. So get a free 30 days of Audible on us. Go to audibletrial.com/bizmarried. Allison, that's going to do it for this week.
Yep, it is.
How are you feeling? How's your self-talk right now?
I feel like I need to go get some note cards and write some stuff.
Yeah, see, that book does that to you. You're like, I think if you're not thinking about it, it's easy to slip back into the negative.
Yeah, I think so. I think some of the things that we talked about while we were on vacation need to be on some note cards so I can practice saying them to myself.
Yeah.
And I think you should try meditation.
I know. There's a lot of noise. There's a lot of noise in my head when I meditate.
I know, but I think the more you do it, the less noise there is.
Okay. I'll consider it.
All right.
Duly noted. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening. Please don't forget, you can find us online. Look for us on Instagram @BizMarried. You can also find us on Facebook. Just search Married with a Business. And check out our website, marriedwithabusiness.net. That's marriedwithabusiness.net. And on there, you can find out information about us. You can see where Allison's speaking because she's speaking a lot lately. And so you can check that out. You can listen to all the episodes of the podcast. There's a link to our Audible page there. So definitely check that out, marriedwithabusiness.net. Thanks, everybody, for listening. We'll be back soon. And remember, not only is it important to focus on your business, but also your marriage, because we're married with a business.